the opportunity to listen from the motion mover, Namateb Ruth Elizabeth.
Dear the Right Honorable Speaker of the National Youth Parliament and delegates present, protocol observed. I am Namtevi Ruth Elizabeth from Central. I am here to move a motion for a resolution of Parliament urging the government to address the spiraling teenage pregnancies and its implications on the girl-child education and social entrepreneurship of young girls. So following the closure of schools in March 2020, cases were reported, increase in cases were reported of teenage pregnancies. And COVID being an impact, mostly adolescent girls were affected. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The seconder, Angus Nasasra.
Allow me to say, praise God, and the Muslims, Allah. I don't know how they say anyway, I'm a Christian. I'm Nasasra Angus from the Antonde Kabra district. Right Honorable, thank you very much. I'm here to second the motion that was ably read by Honorable Ruth. But I would want also to tell the nation and the young people here that it's the right time that we come out on what we are doing and think of teenage pregnancy. Think of where is the Uganda. Think of the next person who is going to sit in your seat today with the rampant cases we have, with what is happening. I feel this is the best motion we can have, and I believe it's going to give us the best resolutions for the Parliament. How I wish, it's my prayer before I even see it, that we can have the UG pads. We only have the UG condoms, and I would want to say that the pads or the menstruation period here is one thing that these girls have until they are even 50. How I feel we can even have a talk about the UG pads in Uganda. We have seen the COVID money come and they have ably given this money to people here in Uganda who are even above 25. People who have everything they can do. I see someone from Rest Uganda. How I wish the Restless Uganda can come and speak about the UGP pads. Allow me to second the motion. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. Let's hear from Honorable Member Namateb Ruth Elizabeth, the mover, to justify her motion. Sorry.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. Members of Parliament. So when we talk about sexual reproductive health and rights, we cannot overlook teenage pregnancies. We all know that sexual reproductive health and rights, it is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being in all matters relating to the reproductive system. And as a peer educator today, through meaningful participation and exposure, I have not only acquired skills, but also information to impact young women and men. And I know the speaker was saying that we should not talk statistics, but allow me paint a picture for the listeners. Members of Parliament, a survey was conducted in 25 districts upon COVID impact on school-going girls and young women. And it indicated Kampala with 24,000 teenage pregnancies. Wakiso came second with 21,000 teenage pregnancies, followed by Mukono and Kamuli. And according to the Ministry of Health, 25% of Ugandan teenagers become pregnant by the age of 19. But before we ask all the obvious questions, let us first dig into the causes. Honorable Members of Parliament, the defilement and rape cases have gone high. Statistics are showing that 14,000 girls got defiled in the year 2020, which is a 3.8% increase from the over 13,000 reported cases in 2019. How are they getting pregnant? Through manipulation as well. And this is done in two ways. We have the cross-generational sex and the transactional sex. Transactional sex, I'm talking sex for pads. We all know that Awan Kanare Mugume of NBS had or did an investigative report talking about girls who were trading sex for pads. And we all know about the cross-generational sex and how it happens. Let's talk about misinformation, lack of correct and accurate information. And I am talking information in terms of sexual reproductive health and rights. The closure of schools alongside COVID-19 limited gatherings where peer educators like me, peer educators from Reach Hand Uganda and several other organizations who would sensitize these girls could no longer go into schools to educate them. How has this impacted them? In so many ways. First, we have the increased rate of school dropouts, which has led to the reduced rate of school enrollment. Why? These girls cannot enroll in school while pregnant. We have the unsafe abortions, which are continuously happening and yet somehow are illegal. We have the maternal deaths, which are about 33 for every 100,000. We have possible illnesses associated with teenage pregnancies. And when it comes to this, we know fistula is one of them. We know STDs are one of them. And as living proof of a person living with HIV, I speak from the bottom of my heart and I want to let you know that unless you are a victim of HIV, you will never understand the impact of living with HIV. Failure of young mothers to nurture a newborn baby. We all know the psychological and financial factors or effects that come with being a mother, especially a young mother. Hence, these young girls are forced into child labor and they end up doing odd jobs. We have also impacts to the society. I'm talking increased population. I'm talking increased government expenditure on health care. Members of Parliament, I beg to close my case. Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Yeah, at this time, we shall open the debate. But I'll first guide you. Every speaker who will come on the podium will use only 5 minutes. And every motion shall be given only 5 people to discuss about it. And we shall pick 3 people from the physical seating and 2 people online. So at this time, I take the pleasure to open the debate. Let's have Honourable Member. Yes, the one with the black mask. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable. Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker of the Fourth Parliament. Now, arguing how the government can address the increasing teenage pregnancies and their implications in the education system. Whereas there was a lot of increase due to COVID-19, there was a lot of early teenage pregnancies. We also realized that the government came up with a few policies and a few ways on how
before
they
you
could
proceed,
address it.
Honourable Member, can you first state your name for the purposes of record?
Oh, I'm really sorry. My name is Akelwanga Priska. The government came up with a few ways on how they could curb its implications to the education system. I'll specifically address the education system because we realize that the mover of the motion actually address the problem at hand on what its implications are on the livelihoods of young girls and also young boys. We're not going to forget that, because this is something that is involving both a girl and a boy. Now at this point, we also realize that whether, even after the government addressing it as girls are going to go back to school even after they've given birth, they should go back to school, realize that this is very, very problematic, because girls are already, their minds have already been damaged. They're already in a state where they cannot go to school. They are mothers. They cannot go back to the state that they were in before. Now, I think the government should come up with a better way to address the problem of depression among young teenagers who are already been victims of early pregnancies on both the boys' side and the girls' side. We should not forget that both girls and boys are, in this case, going to be affected. And also, how can it help to, what are the other ways that the government should come up with? I also think that there should be an inclusive way that the problem is not only addressed in specific parts of this country. You find that these early childhood pregnancies are not just in specific districts. There are huge numbers in all over the country. Now, if the challenge is only addressed in specific parts of the country, and then the other parts of the country, the problem is not addressed, this leaves a gap of inclusivity. Now the government should come up with a way that inclusively help all girls and boys who are affected by this problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Yes, the second bit. Let's hear from Honorable Member that side, and after we shall go this side. I haven't seen any member from this side putting up. Okay, proceed.
Thank you so much.
And before, we shall request all our honorable members to submit their names for proper attribution and clear hazard record. So start with your name and give your submission. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, sir. I'm called Katenene Yofes from Orenzol region. I want also to add my voice on the urging government to bring means on how they can prevent early pregnancies. It is true that our motion mover said that in urban centers and even in rural centers of this country, we have had a lot of early pregnancies during the pandemic and even before the pandemic had come. But as a country, we need to come up and give life skills and social skills, such as making positive decisions, self-esteem, patience, and bargaining powers, which would help them navigate life challenges and avoid early sex. These are some, most of our young girls do not have that kind of self-esteem. So, but if government comes up and gives them those life skills, they will develop self-esteem and end up denying those men who deceive them for giving them gifts in exchange of sex and end up falling into problems. So also government should have a lot of seminars countrywide, not only in specific areas of this country, but move to different parts of the country, sensitizing children and their parents, and with the aim of improving their life skills and social survival skills. So if government moves all over the country, work with the civil society organizations so that they can address some of the challenges. And basically, this now goes to all of us. We should have a collective responsibility. This country, and specifically for this generation, we have already said the children of Museveni. These children are not Museveni's children. When you move down in the villages, they will tell you the children of Museveni are spoiled. But I can tell you these are our own children. We need to have a collective responsibility, both from government and the caregivers, so that we can provide for our children. if the children are moving long distances to go to school, if border men are using that opportunity, us as a community, how do we address that? When you see my child being spoiled by a border man, why can't you report him to me or to the responsible people like police and other people, so that we can have that kind of responsibility? We shouldn't give these children to government alone, but also as parents and the whole community should come in to address the challenge of early pregnancy. Then lastly, Mr. Speaker, sir, government should encourage young mothers to go back to school and put means to prevent stigma. I believe when these young children produce at an early age, going back to school has become a problem in this country. But government should work with the Ministry of Gender and other civil society organizations to fight or come up with projects that should fight stigma within these young mothers so that they can go back to school and have a better life. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Member, for your great submission. We shall have the third member to give his or her submission. But this time we shall follow the gender balance. The other time it was a lady, male, now it's a lady from this side. So ladies, hey, honorable members, I say the lady, I see a gentleman is putting up. So let's see.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sir, honorable members of the August House, I greet you. My name is Julia Mhumuza. I have 2 points to put across. As we look at playing a role as far as this vice is concerned, it's two-way. We're looking at having these teenage girls who have been victims to teenage pregnancies go back to school, and also protecting the potential victims of this vice. So as we look at the ones who are already pregnant, I've had issues like these girls cannot go back to school because they're mentally disconnected, which is not a case. We have schools that actually expel girls when they become pregnant while in school, or they are suspended. So if such policies are revised in schools to allow girls willing to go back to school to go back, we can, after giving birth, we can have these girls have their option and also have a right to achieve their education right while in school. And lastly, which is most important, we are looking at the numbers that have escalated as a result of this vice, forgetting that as long as we still have schools closed, many are out there and they are potential victims to sexual harassment, to rape, or even actually becoming pregnant. So the best solution here would be the government considering opening schools in a way that protects the girl child, because it is clear that schools have played, or are the ones that play a big role as far as protecting the girls from the sexual kind of violence in the community. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. As I said before, we shall hear submissions from the physical members in the House, and then we shall hear 2 from online. So, members in the control room, can you help us and connect members online if they are there? Or we get back to the physical members. As you arrange, I'll get a submission from Honorable Orput Calvin. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. I would first like to start by thanking the move of the motion for bringing us up to speed with this particular subject. My humble submission to the House is that before we go further, let's turn the clock 360 around. What's the major cause of teenage pregnancies? It doesn't just come through eating a meal or something. Definitely there is a sexual relation involved. Coming from a typical African community, talking about issues of sexuality is regarded to be sacred. So the government, first of all, should start backtracking its steps to ensure that, first of all, there is adequate information issued out to the young people there. The Honorable Muhumuza Julia actually submits and says, as schools are closed, bearing the current situation, definitely would not expect the young teenagers being taken back to school. So the onus falls back to us, actually, availing as adequate information as possible to the young people out there. We are alive to the fact that we're in a .com era. There's a lot of information that is either shared on the gadgets and what have you. What is the control that we have put in place to ensure that the young teenagers out there are protected from this particular content that is out there? The move of the motion talked about defilement and what have you. Legally speaking, we know that in relation to defilement, it is immaterial whether the teenager actually consented to the entire process or not. So it means that the government should actually look at arming the young people with necessary information. Let the people know the risks involved. Let them know that once you involve in a sexual act, A, B, C, D is to happen or to befall you. Most of these teenagers are either taken up by excitement and adolescence and what have you. So let us have the right information put out there. We can use gadgets as simple as radio sets as sending out this particular information, such that we can actually have a guarantee that the young people of Uganda are actually secured or saved while at home, even when they're away from schools. Thank you.
Much, Honorable Oput Calvin. Let's listen from a honorable member.
Thank you so much. Can you give us a floor? This is Franco. Can you give us a floor?
Proceed, Honorable Franco.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really want to appreciate you for giving me time to share with you my experience. I'm Franco Rashid. Of recent, I've been participating with the United Nations system from Geneva Online. It is a Young Leaders Training Program. It was about multilateral diplomacy, of which we had several experts from across the world. About this, I can really be able to share with you. Right now, I'm saying we as young leaders are suffering from infodemic, not the pandemic itself. What do I mean by that? There have been several false informations passed about COVID-19, which may have also caused the education disruption and also the closeout of the education systems and all that. If this more especially comes from the health team who are handling the COVID-19 situation, and not only for the COVID-19 itself, but also the political situation itself as well. People are using young people to generate propaganda, and they are using young people to achieve their goals by doing wrong things, but they are now using our ignorance, Does not mean that if somebody pursues degree in any course, does not mean that this person is more educated enough. This person still needs more capacity building. I would actually call upon the government to build the capacity of young people if they should need to put legacy in our country, Uganda itself. And I would also ask that the government should also call upon the external support, such as the World Health Organization, the United Nations, and all that, if there are some challenges within the country. And it's very important to liaise with other international organizations to really support the people in the country, more especially the young people. And I would say, in that case, the projects of the youths are being inadequate and are never being really monitored or being mentored adequately
And the
enough.
member stick on the motion
Yeah.
that has been put on the floor of Parliament.
So for that, yeah, thank you so much.
Proceed, honorable member. You have 2 minutes. Okay. Let's hear from Honorable Alan Abenau.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. My name is Alan Avenawe Bwevare. I am the representative from Western Region, specifically Chiruhura District. Fellow delegates here, we need to understand that for a fact we have had teenage pregnancies. Now, we have had strategies that we can actually use in order to curb down the teenage pregnancies. But I would like to state that the reason unto why we are having increasing number of teenage pregnancies is basically because the institutions that we do have that are supposed to protect children have suffered their own share of institutional weaknesses. What do I mean? A border man finds it prudent to convince a 14 or a 15-year-old to have sexual relations with them, but this man goes scot-free. All we talk about is that this little young girl is pregnant, but the perpetuator of the pregnancy, who is a border man, goes scot-free. So my suggestion would be, in order for us to curb down the teenage pregnancies, we need to make sure that we actually put in place stringent laws that do deal with these perpetuators. If you are an old man and you convince a young teenage girl to have sexual relations with them, then the law should work on you because you're trying to interfere with the future of this young girl. I do submit.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member Abendawe Alan. We shall move to the next motion, but before that, we shall hear from the motion mover, and we shall request her to step in front and give the resolutions to this House. Thank you very much, Honorable Member. Can I interject? Before you proceed, we have, let's hear from her, and then you give the resolution. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. My name is Agawa Charity from Mitoma, speaking from the border forest. It's true that the UN report that was provided in the recent weeks that over 60% of the cases in courts of assault for the teenage pregnancies. And how do we overcome the teenage pregnancies have risen during the COVID lockdowns. Instead of the COVID lockdowns curbing the curve of the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic, they have increased the curve of the teenage pregnancies. And this has even led to a reduction in the contribution of young girls or young entrepreneurs towards the GDP of the country. My advice would be to the government, if schools cannot be opened because of the current situations, why can't we try alternative trainings and some other sure that people are kept in the working conditions and having busy minds, because we know an empty mind or a mind that has nothing to do is a devil's workshop. How can we let that go? Make them busy by providing them entrepreneurship skills, training them in other vocational or with other vocational schools than letting them go or have nothing to do at hand. Another thing is, what if we provide contraceptives to girls and make them, if yes, sex, we know it's a necessity according to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. What if we give them contraceptives? But my issue also on that is, who are those that impregnate them? What if we provide an alternative to those people that do the impregnancies and let the issue go? Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Here representing Mitoma District, we've been part of that debate. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Agawa Charity. As we proceed, we shall listen from Honorable Namteve Ruth Elizabeth. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. So at this stage, I would like to share my call to action or make my prayer to you, Honorable Members of Parliament. There are already policies that are still under development. They have been revised in and out each single year, but they've never been passed. Some of these policies include the National School Policy, which encompasses sexuality education. And when I talk sexuality education, I am not talking obscenity, like most people have painted it. I am talking mental health, I am talking contraceptives, I'm talking STDs, communicable diseases, I'm talking menstrual hygiene, and so many other things. We have the National Family Policy, which encompasses parental behavior change, parents communicating with their own children about sexual reproductive health and rights. These policies need to be passed once and for all. Let's talk about safe spaces for teenagers, young girls. We need to create safe spaces for these girls to be able to freely express their emotional distress. They are being raped, harassed, there is incest happening in our families. And this is the reason as to why some of them are pregnant. But we do not talk about these things because they are considered obscene to the public. So these kids, these children, these young girls need a safe space where they can freely express their thoughts. We need to legalize contraceptives for only and only girls who are already menstruating, and it can be optional. Let's think into that. How about we also produce free pads for school-going children? Honorable members of parliament, how can we and why should we have condoms for free and yet pads are for buying? As I close my case, I would like to share with you something that I consider so important to me. As a young girl living with HIV, these are my dreams. Those are my dreams. Imagine if I am educated and I've lived with HIV for 29 years, but I am still struggling to accomplish just 10% of those dreams. How about a teenage girl who is pregnant? How about a teenage girl who is living with HIV? How about a teenage girl who is not only pregnant, she's living with HIV, she's living with a disability? How about a teenage girl who is an orphan? She is pregnant, she's living with HIV, she has a disability. We shall speak. We shall talk about the same thing year in, year out, month in, month out. We shall keep having these parliamentary sittings. But it is time we stop talking, it is time we stop speaking, and it's time to act. There is no any other day but today. Thank you, honorable members of parliament. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, honorable member. And for guidance, every document that is displayed on the floor of parliament has to be laid on the table. Thank you very much.